it came in the context of a veil or a curtain. Okay, it's specifically women of the wives of the Prophet were specifically this surah was specifically directed to them. The other mention of the covering in Quran didn't mention hijab or head or hair. By the way, it comes jilbab, it comes in different words, but in the context didn't come hijab. By the way, women in the Islamic world, in the time of the Prophet, didn't wear hijab the way we see it now, because the Prophet
None wrote.
they didn't wear hijab in this. Yes.
But we have this Pakistani person here who's saying that it is clearly mentioned that you got to cover.
He's lying.
No, they're not.
He's
They're
lying.
no. There is. I'm an Arabic linguist. There is no mention of the word head or hair in the Quran. I'll give you more if you look into Islamic history. I'll give you
Are
more
you
info.
going to call her a liar?
No, if you want, you go check
No,
Islamic
she covered.
history. No, you should go and check Islamic history. Women didn't wear the veil. All of the women didn't wear the veil or hijab the way we see it, and we the way men tell women to wear it nowadays. It came later in after the Abbasid Caliphate. It's not in the Islam, and during Islam and the Prophet Muhammad used to see women faces and women hair. He even saw a face of Zainab bint Jahsh, the woman he loved, and he wanted to marry, and she was married to another, his adopted son. He even saw her face. He saw her hair. He saw her. So, what are you telling us? This is not Islam.
People are back what are the Pakistanis actually reading?
No, they're reading the interpretation. They're reading the interpretation of patriarchal sheikhs and scholars. This is what they are reading. This is the scriptures that we have in Bukhari and Muslim and every Muslim scholar who came afterwards. They took from each other. They scribed from each other. They took the notions from each other. So all of them, patriarchal society. So خلاص, they took the idea that we should cover the woman and put her in certain contexts, that women don't see her, men don't see her, she's not showing, none of her femininity object is showing to people, and thus we preserve our tribal honor. By the way, women in Islam, and I specifically say, and everybody here who is Muslim and non-Muslim, he can go back to the Islamic scripts. Back then, women at the time of the Prophet didn't wear hijab in the way we see it right now. Period.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I listened to what you say, Mr. Tarek, and I applaud you, Sarahat. I applaud you.
Not at all. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Sonia, I think it was my turn, if I may.
Sure. Shiko, I hope things are clearer to you now.
Again, one simple question to this lady also. Can you perform Umrah or Hajj without covering your head?
Shiko, why are you changing the goalpost? You started with saying that it is clearly prescribed by Allah, to all the women. Then you said there is an age limit. Then you said it depends on the areas. Then you said the Tarek Fateh was lying that there is no mention of head and hair. Now when this
even in Hajj, I'm telling you, even in Hajj, there wasn't mention for hijab and Hajj the way we see it right now. Yeah. It wasn't. It's all of the scripts that we have is from Hadith, and people write these nonsense stories about hijab and what women should wear and how women should wear. By the way, Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, when she entered Medina, she said, "I saw women wearing black clothes just like crows." And she mentioned, by the way, the women of the Jews in the Medina, because they were used to wear this whole head and body suits, black covers. And by the way, we used to wear veils to cover their faces, only their eyes showing. This is what the Jewish women wore at the Medina at the time of the Prophet.
Let me add one aspect to this, which perhaps most would not figure out. On November 20th, 1979, there was an uprising in Mecca and the battle continued for at least a week, and until French paratroopers dropped in and taken. Prior to that, Mecca and in the Kaaba, you could sit, you could talk, you could chat, you could dress as you wished, whether you were there or not. There was a complete freedom of speech and expression inside the Kaaba. After that uprising, Kaaba changed completely, and you could not talk in any other language other than Arabic. If you heard, you would be, the mutawwas would come and ask you to not. So in protest, I did a Hajj in English, and they took me away. My wife was with me, and I said, "Where are you saying that your God can't understand English?" I had deliberately done that. Then he apologized, brought me back in over there. And if you're discussing what to buy, a Betamax VCR is okay or not, whether it is VHS that will last, I've heard all this while Pakistanis have been doing Hajj. How to smuggle the equipment back at Karachi customs, all of this within the Kaaba. Let's stop trying to be more pious than the early Muslims and the Prophet himself. Name me one person who married a widow, and then I will talk to you about what is Islam. Not a single Khalifa.
Not just a widow, an older widow.
Yes, 15 years older. Not just that. It is Khadija who proposed to the Prophet. Aaj koi ladki, if somebody goes and says, "I'd like to marry you," half the city will come out and declare her to be apostate. Country where you have put more women in jail for apostasy. You give me an example. You kidnap Hindu women and forcibly convert them to Islam and sell them off to 50-year-old landowners. You come from the Gulf to Hyderabad, Deccan, and buy Indian girls for $500, and you come and lecture us about this nonsense that my friend did this and my friend did that. There is a time when you have to stop this nonsense and look at yourself in the mirror and say, there is something rotten that we are doing. Why haven't we produced Ibn Khaldun in the last 500 years? There is going to be no Ibn Rushd with this sort of nonsense going on. The Arabs contributed so immensely to human civilization. And all of that is going under the bridge because this new type of Islam that comes out from the rotten faces of Pakistani bred terrorists, Taliban from Deoband and all that. You host Osama bin Laden, Khalid, the guy, the brainchild of the 9/11, and then you say the Jews did it. You go to any Pakistani and you ask them who did 9/11? The Jews. Hanud or Yahud? I mean, for goodness sake, stop lying for your existence. Start living. Be an example for your children.
If I'm allowed to say a sentence in 1 minute and then...
Sure, please go ahead. Go ahead, Omer.
Thank you. This is what I was talking about. That this fight within Muslims is what is distracting the whole conversation about the real problem. The real problem here is Islam. See, they come and they talk about Islam has in Quran, they have put these things about women's right. And I say it again, there's no conversation in Quran to the woman, about the woman. In very small parts, things are mentioned. Why? Because women is an object that is for taking by men. Same as they have rules for camels, how to count the life of a camel, how much it's worth it. They have the same thing for women. These are the things you're supposed to give to this thing and that thing. These people who sit and talk about all this scholarly reads of Quran, they should be talking about the word kanis, that Muslims are told when you attack infidels, you take their women and they can be your kanis and you can have kanis. Kanis people is women slaves, women slaves. You can take them and have them. But now in 21st century, we're sitting down here and talking about all this, giving microphone to so many reformist Muslims. And I propose to you that the reformist Muslims are more dangerous than Taliban. Because with Taliban and with Al Qaeda and these kind of mentalities, you can see what you stand against. But with the reformists, they put on a suit and a tie and they try to say that what you see from those people is not a real Islam, and the real Islam is what we say, and we have to be moderate to some issues that the Western world is dealing with. It's all the same thing, and it's all the same. Again and again I say it is all the same. What we see from the Muslim world is the real Islam. Doesn't matter what happened 1400 years ago. Today we're seeing this. Today we're seeing that the little girl is forced to put on something on their head, and they're forced to learn to do their namaz and say salam and be that slave for the Muslim world. And the women in Iran are saying no to all of them. They seem to no to all of it. They're saying yes to freedom of thought and expression. They're saying no to the disunion of the left and Islam once and for all. That's what's happening in my country. That's what's happening at the hands of in hands of in with the blood and sweat of teenage girls going in front of this Muslim terrorist regime that stands for today's Islamic world with guns and rape and torture and murder. And please, let's not waste on this. All this reformist talks about Islam is like this, and they said the word hair or not. Yes, it doesn't say hair. Okay,
Okay.
we are read it.
Okay, Shaheen, you've
But
made your
but
point. You've
thank
made your
you.
point. So we are going to go to Omid now.
Thank you very much. Maybe first, thank you very much. Uh, I just want to give in 1 minute my view about what Mr. Tarek and Mr. Shiko they had a debate. So I just want to point out that no, there is no verses or there is no decree in the Quran or in Islam that it will be only for the for hijab for Makkah, Medina, or anywhere else. So the rule is for everywhere. So it depends upon you whether you are following it or not following it. So it is not about the particular place that you should do it in the Makkah, but you should not do it in other area. It is for everywhere, but it depends upon to you. But now maybe his question will be that why most of the people they cover, because I heard his question that they used to do, they cover their hairs in Mecca, but they don't do other and maybe in the rest of their life. The point is that of course when you're going to your office you wear your most, I mean, official clothes. So it is just like a more a moral thing because the Kaaba is the holiest
Omid,
place for
Omid, is
Muslims.
it just your opinion, or has it been prescribed somewhere, written somewhere, or is it just your
About
word
what?
against his word?
About what?
I mean, I do understand people do not like it when you criticize their faith, but if you're coming from a position of just not liking it, I'm sorry, this is probably not the right space for you. If you have a
I'm
rationale
talking
behind
about.
whatever you're saying, if you think what
Yeah.
Shiko said can be rebutted and you have any references to make, please do that.
Of course, the verses of Surah Nur is talking about the hijab. So there is no any other verses talking about a particular place. It's just talking about hijab because our topic is about hijab. So there is no verses in the whole entire
No, but
Quran
you
that
don't want
talks
people
about.
to speak about Islam while we are discussing hijab. How is that even possible?
No, if we are talking about the entire Islam, so there is a wide range of issues, so we cannot cover it. It's only about what we, if we pick one topic in the in Islam, so there we can come to a conclusion. But if we talk all about
Yeah,
Islam
but
and compare it,
but the victims of this
for
kind of
example,
oppression,
a
they
brother,
disagree with you. Just because
for
you're not
example,
in
a
that
brother said that,
position, it doesn't
for
take too
example,
much for you to empathize with them without having to wear everything on your sleeve and taking everything to your heart. You don't have to do that. Why can't you be objective for once?
because a brother just talked like there is the woman treatment in Quran is just like there is they don't they give a value of like a camel, which is animal. So of obviously if I start talking about,
Are women compared to dogs or not? Tarek,
Sorry,
एक second, Tarek,
Just a
properly.
okay?
second. If she's asking me, can you? No, there is no reference as
Hmm.
such comparing women to dogs or not.
Okay.
Nobody, when you are praying, no one is, and it's not some command. It's just normal politeness within Islamic culture that you don't